Welcome to the Beyond the Vines podcast, where I interview local business owners in Sonoma County to highlight small business and grow our community. I'm your host, Amy Ahlers, a mom, realtor, and Sonoma County native, and I'm excited to connect you to some amazing people in this beautiful area that we call home. Hi, I'm Amy Ahlers with the Beyond the Vines podcast. Thanks for tuning in again. As always, I am here bringing local Sonoma County small businesses to this room to interview to really spread the word and kind of increase our community. I am here today with Mike Barber. He is the owner of one of my favorite wineries in Sonoma County, but conveniently located in downtown Petaluma. It is, I believe, the first winery in downtown Petaluma, correct?
We were, the first tasting room.
The very first tasting room. There we go. And I am a member there. I get my little glass with my name on it as often as I can get down there. And I am so honored to have him here today. So here's Mike. Welcome.
Oh, thank you very much.
I'm so glad you're here. Before we get into the business side of things, which I know you have a lot of exciting things to talk about. We're in the middle of harvest. You have some exciting news opening today.
Oh, yeah.
But I wanted to hear a little bit more about how you got started in this career.
Sure. So my background, I always say, was wine retail in San Francisco.
Oh.
And my wife's background was construction, right? So I became a buyer for the shop in San Fran, and most people in my position would go into like distribution afterwards, but I really wanted to create something. So, this job was sending me around the world, meeting winemakers, wine growers, all up and down the coast, tasting everything, tasting all the wines of the world. So literally one day I came home and looked at my wife and said, I think we should make wine.
I love that.
And she said, okay. So I kind of glommed on to guys in the industry who I respected and went like, how are you making this versus them? What do you do that's different? What's going on here?
Cool.
So East Bay winemakers were teaching me chemistry. We spent a little bit of time in Italy learning from guys we used to direct import. And I was working with the vineyards up in Dry Creek, and it just kind of coalesced from there. We started making wine at a co-op around Fairfield, and literally on my lunch break in Soma and my wife's lunch break in Union Square, we would take our wine that we made in our little baggies to restaurants and bars and stores and just sell wherever we could.
That's amazing.
And eventually it just kind of coalesced. We looked north and went, you know what, let's just go for it. So I want to say 2008, or I think it made 2009, we moved to Petaluma up here.
Right.
Our first vintage, by the way, commercially was 2007.
Okay.
So we've been doing this for a long time.
Wow.
In 2009, landed in Petaluma. And then it kind of coalesced from there. More and more, I was finding these vineyards and slowly taking over the vineyards. We eventually built our own wineries. So now from sourcing grapes and making wine at different co-ops, we now farm all of our grapes. I've got about 12 acres of smaller different sites around Petaluma, and we're making wine in our own winery in downtown, and we established the first downtown tasting room in Petaluma.
I love that. And your tasting room, which we'll get into more, it's kind of evolved a little bit, but has such a good vibe to it where, people who are out shopping downtown can just stop in for a glass or a tasting. I've met other moms with our kids, and you've got all those board games there and they play while we have our wine. You're right. And if anyone doesn't know, located within the hotel, right? Or right next to the hotel.
Right. We renovated our space. It opened up in 2015 when the hotel was renovating the space too. We kind of saw their vision.
Yep.
We were looking for a downtown spot, so we kind of linked together as partners.
That's amazing.
And we've always what we do is we grow everything organic. I mean, small producer. What we do is pretty world-class wine, but I've always wanted to take the pretension out of wine tasting. Sit-down tasting rooms were always my favorite. So we kind of have this Victorian living room kind of vibe to our space.
Yes.
If you want to ask all the questions, I'm there for you. We'll go deep into it. But if you just want a little pour and be left alone, you can do that too. If you just want a glass and take it at your own speed, play some games, eat some cheese. I mean,
Play foosball.
Yeah, a little foosball, a little Pac-Man.
I love the foos. And, and I don't take advantage of the Pac-Man very often, but the foosball, my husband and I get a little competitive with that.
Well, yeah, and you know what? We're very family friendly. We've raised our family in the space. We love when people bring kids, so we're not forcing the no kid agenda. You don't have to have reservations. We keep it pretty casual.
Yep. Yeah, and I'll say too, with being within the hotel, you've got that side street entrance, but I always park and walk through the hotel because it's just so pretty in there.
Oh, they did a great job.
They did a great job in there. So I always kind of take that like longer route just so I can walk through the cute hotel. But so are all of your grapes grown here in Petaluma? Is that where you source everything from?
I always say like around Petaluma.
Around Petaluma.
Right? Because the first vineyard we really took over was our Old Vine Zinfandel vineyard, because I'm really passionate about Zinfandel. And that's on top of Sonoma Mountain, so just east of town. And then our Pinot Noir we grow in West Petaluma, Chardonnay, North Petaluma. Okay. We also have some Sangiovese and Carneros just to the east of Petaluma. So smaller sites. Our biggest site is probably about 3.5 acres. Wow. So just envision me like carting the tractor to different sites depending on what needs to happen.
Wow, that's amazing. That's great. So you kind of mentioned the different varieties that you produce. What do you think are your kind of top sellers? I know all of yours are my favorite, but your rosé to me in the summer is like the best rosé I've ever had.
Our rosé of Sangiovese, right? And people do lose their minds over that.
I stock up.
We've always been known for our Zinfandel. I mean, it's definitely a big passion for me. Zinfandel and more of the medium body kind of Italian varieties. I'm really that's kind of my jam.
That's great. So
we kind of sought the best vineyards for that, and slowly kind of took over different leases of land for where those grapes would grow the best.
Great.
Our people love our Pinot Noir as well.
You did a bubbly for a little while, too.
Well, that
was kind of an adventure,
A work in progress.
A work in progress. It was fun, though. I remember trying to bring some home. And I love your tasting room associate, and I cannot think of her name right now. She's always there in the evenings, and she's incredible.
Could be Sky or Amy.
It might be Sky. Yeah. I'm not positive. And she makes, like, the most incredible platter, like the boards, because we always get a snack board.
Oh, we're not messing around.
No, you're not messing around.
No.
And it's different every time, and it's so fun.
Small glasses of wine and a lot of food. And small cheese boards piss us off. So that's not what we're about.
Not the plan.
No.
I love that. So when it comes to your tasting room, what kind of sets you apart, and I think you've got into it a little bit, is the vibe from other tasting rooms in Sonoma County? I mean, very different from Napa. What do you think kind of sets you apart and makes people want to come to Barber Cellars?
So I think, one, it's that more casual vibe, right? I've always been about that, just trying to take the pretension out. You could ask us any question or not ask us anything. That's up to you. Our business in general, I feel like, we're kind of a unicorn in the industry. If you really want to get super geeky on the wine side, like there's not a lot of tiny producers like us that, we're only making like 1,000 cases that actually grow the fruit, have the tasting room, make the wine at their own winery, and oftentimes serve the wine because I always say I make alcohol, not money. So we're still in there serving all the time.
Yeah, totally.
But I love the interaction with people. I love the interaction
Mm-hmm.
with people talking about it. So they show up to our place and they actually meet the winemakers, and they're always like, "What?"
So cool. Yeah.
And we just keep it real casual. But like I said, you don't find entities like us very much in the county or in wine country in general.
I think that's why I was so drawn to you. So I assume that's why a lot of your wine club members or just people that come in are so drawn to you. And for anyone that's not a wine club member, they make you a glass that has your name etched into it. And so I always get the Cheers song in my head, like where everybody knows your name, and they pull your glass off the wall and fill it up, and it's like the best evening, and work ends, go stop there for a glass. Definitely get some cheese, which we're going to talk about a little bit.
The tap room mentality.
It's like the tap room. It's the tap room with wine.
All our club members get a laser etched name on the glass and a free glass of wine when they visit.
Yeah, a free glass every time, which is so convenient. Also, too, when we're heading downtown to go out to dinner or something, we stop in and get a glass first. It's a great plan.
That's why we're open a little later than a lot of tasting rooms. We definitely get a lot of on our way to dinner business, on our way back front to the hotel from our wine country adventures of the day kind of business.
I've done both of those. Also on the way to the movie theater too. I've done that with friends where we'll stop and grab a glass on our way to the movies and
on our way to whatever.
On your way to wherever you're headed. Yeah, for sure. So I think now would be a good time to kind of talk about what's happening today. We're recording this on October 12th. This will come out early next week. Today is a big day for you guys. You want to tell me a little bit more about that?
Well, yeah, and of course we would do this right in the middle of harvest too,
right,
just because why not do everything all in, but so like we've always done. But we converted our tasting room to kind of be a new experience. You know, we wanted to take it in a different direction. Tourism to Sonoma County is down this year from previous years. The effects of the pandemic in the wine industry are just forcing changes all over the place. And for us, we were thinking like, okay, what else can we do to be a community service? What's needed in the town? What do we already do that we really want to expand on? So we're really blowing up a part of our business that we've always done well in, but it's not taking second fiddle to the wine anymore. So today we're converting our tasting room to the Petaluma Cheese Shop.
I love it.
We've been bringing in dozens of cheese, local charcuterie, local, international, everything. We're seriously expanding our dine-in menu.
Very cool.
Just that more, it's just that thought and angle of wine tasting. It doesn't have to be so experiential. We're trying to make it even more casual. It's like you don't need the reservation. It's not this highfalutin, super expensive thing. So the cheese shop is going to allow us to explore a different part of our business. But also, you can come in, just enjoy some cheese, get a glass of wine. Cool. You can wine taste if you want to. Our wine tasting service isn't changing.
Right.
But you don't even have to have wine at all.
Just come eat.
Hey, come with the family. Eat some cheese. We're working with like the best importers and the best distributors we can. These guys that we've sought out. So we have some really interesting selections and sandwiches, burrata service.
I was going to say the email I got, you had me at burrata. I was like, oh my God, that's my favorite.
It's pretty decadent, and for what we're offering, it's really reasonable. It's more like a group kind of experience, like bring your friends. Cool. I know these are weird inflationary economic times, and we wanted a spot where you could still have an amazing experience. But come with a bunch of friends and probably leave with a bill that's not too high, and everyone's like full of way too much wine and cheese.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's a good goal. And I will say, even before that, just with your cheese boards and everything that you had before, I would do the same thing. We would get our wine, we would have our cheese board, we'd split the bill, and it was like nothing.
Yeah, and now that's not like, it's not the second part to the wine tasting experience. It's like it's like a whole new built up experience. And the charcuterie boards, an 8 cheese tasting board.
Wow.
An alpine experience of like melted raclette and this cave-aged Gruyere over a bunch of appetizers, the burrata, everything. It's going to be crazy.
That is so that is opening today.
Today.
That is so exciting. Oh, well, and also I'm so appreciative that you took the time to like run over here today to do this. So this is great. You're slammed today. I want to say
we're going to be using all bread from the Cousteau Bakery that's opening very soon
right
next to us. So the whole hotel is going to be like a foodie paradise pretty soon.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Yeah, because you've got the shuckery right there, too.
The shuckery, seafood,
you've got also
bakery.
Barber Spirits,
Barber Spirits, our distillery right next door.
We're gonna have to do another podcast to explore that side a little bit more.
Yeah,
yeah, totally. I would love to learn more about that.
Wine and whiskey are my two passions.
Wine and whiskey. I love that. I think that's really exciting. So it's a good destination for anybody staying in the hotel, but also anyone coming in and out of downtown Petaluma. It's a great stop. So I forgot Cousteau was opening. That's very exciting.
Yeah, it's just something for locals as much as tourists. We just want everyone to feel comfortable coming down and enjoying everything we got.
I love that. Can people find your wine anywhere other than the tasting room? Do you distribute anywhere, or do they need to come in and stop in downtown Petaluma?
We have a really we have a really small kind of wholesale, dedicated wholesale in the area.
Okay.
So some shops here and there, some restaurants here and there that are really loyal to us, but it's not something that we pursue because we're so busy.
You're so small,
So, I'd say like 90% of everything we sell is right out of our tasting room, direct to consumer, wine club, and visitors.
Great. I do remember, too, during the pandemic, you guys were amazing at delivering at that time.
Oh, yeah.
That was, I'm sure, necessary for your business, but also necessary for us parents that were, like, trying to homeschool.
Well, and the local support was great, too. I mean, we were loading up cases and running it all over the place, all over town and stuff.
It was such a great service that you guys were offering because you had to, but also it was just great for all of us. It was very convenient. Are there any ways that you give back to our local community here?
We work with a ton of charities, right? My wife has always been involved with the Downtown Association, so she knows a bunch of people at different charities. So she's not only working with just all the good works that they do in town. This is the organization that puts on like Butter and Eggs Day and all the things. I mean, and my wife was a big spearhead in the artist painting all the electric boxes and everything and linking that up. But we've also worked closely with Petaluma People Services and COTS all the time. We started the deviled egg competition as a big charity fundraiser for our holiday food fair in November. Always gives back to the Petaluma People Services. We're very community minded. We love Petaluma, so any kind of tie-in we can do to big events that we've done, we've always tried to include our favorite charities.
I love that so much. And the ones you mentioned too, it's such like staples in
our
community.
They do good work.
Yeah, for sure. That's amazing. What challenges have you faced as a tasting room or as a small business here? You can refer to either of your businesses in this or both. Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
This is a 2-hour show, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, unless you're trying to open like a new tasting room today.
I'd say the alcohol business, is always going to be challenging, right? There's a lot of competition in this age of like conglomerates taking over small wineries and the whole smoke and mirrors.
Absolutely.
It's always hard to shout through the noise. But just since we've been open, 2015 we opened the tasting room. It's great. We saw this growth. And then the fires. 2017 happened. The hotel was filled with refugees. It was like, whoa. Wow. And that was our 10-year anniversary.
That's mind-blowing.
We had this debate. Like, did we even do our big party we had planned? And we ended up doing it.
Good.
It was great. And just trying to get over the madness. But the fires every year kind of kicking the legs out from under tourism. And then coast into the biggest thing, which was the pandemic.
Absolutely.
Which closed all the tasting rooms down, run wine to people's houses.
Which was amazing.
And then even in 2020, that year, like the day we literally figured out outdoor service at the hotel was the day the Lightning Complex fires kicked up. So I'm open for business outside, and ash is falling from the sky, and I'm like, what the hell do I do about this year? Oh my God.
Really. Yeah.
And then talk about Mother Nature. That smoke destroyed our Pinot Noir, destroyed our Pinot Gris that year. So we had loss of crop, and now every year I'm looking at heat spikes, this fire creeping up. This is an extremely late harvest this year, which has been great for wine quality, but it's always like you smell smoke in the air.
It's iffy.
Suddenly, is that a barbecue or
did
I just lose 2 acres of grapes?
Gosh, that's so crazy, and I don't think most people think about that.
Farming is stressful for sure.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think it affects your flavor profiles of everything too, as well.
If you get enough smoke, the grapes are destroyed. And we've had to contend with that, and now it's like the pandemic shift of the tourism drop-off, shifting demographics, trying to get younger generations into the wine business and older generations kind of aging out of wine purchasing. So it's a tough business. We're passionate about what we do, but it is a very tough business.
I didn't think about the different ages. Yeah, that's a good point.
Oh, yeah.
That's a really good point.
It's the thing that the wine industry has known about for a while and has done
dynamics
very little to help.
Absolutely.
But the big thing now is how do you get younger generations to appreciate wine? And the pandemic just kind of, I'd say, accelerated all of these issues.
Yep. Wow, that is really, it wouldn't have even crossed my mind. That
part of the reason we're doing the cheese shop thing, just kind of taking down the I don't know, the whole notion that wine tasting in the wine world is only like special occasion and super expensive and all of that stuff. Totally. It's like not true, but we're trying to change that part of people's minds.
I love that, and I love that that's the approach to it and that you recognize that.
Oh, yeah.
So that's fantastic. So definitely some challenges. What's something like a milestone or a success you've had?
I'd say anytime we've successfully like opened a spot, there's a good feeling of like, yes, we did that. Oh my God, that was difficult, and we did it, Like building the tasting room, me, my wife, like I said, her background's construction, so we have her know how to do everything. Yeah, but fantastic. She was like 8 months pregnant, cutting tile and laying down floor and everything, and so that was crazy. But once that was open, right 2 weeks after our first son was born.
Wow.
We're like, yes, we did that. And then building out the winery, establishing our own place, moving away from the co-ops and establishing our own spot.
Yep.
And then when we took over the vineyards we were working with, started farming those. The first time from start to finish, like I farmed the grapes, 2-3 years later, had the bottle out. That's kind of like a...
That's the timeline, is about 2 to 3 years usually?
Yeah,
okay.
for sure. And, that's a good, hell yeah, it worked out.
It worked out.
And it
we
tastes
got
good.
it out there.
Oh, my God.
That's amazing.
I didn't mess it up.
Yeah, exactly. Well, to look back on those milestones, too, because when you're in the thick of it, it can feel so overwhelming. But then to look back and be like, wow, we did that. We got through that, whether it's the pandemic or laying floor at 8 months pregnant. Like, that's impressive.
For sure.
So, yeah. And it's
cut through the wall of self-doubt and just plow through.
Plow through it.
Like, this is crazy, but we're going to...
Yeah.
Something's going to happen.
Exactly. That's amazing. So we talked about, the cheese shop, but are there any other, new wine releases, any other upcoming projects you guys are working on?
Well, the Pinot Gris, which is,
I love that.
got us... best wine, or one of the best wines in Sonoma magazine, all the press and stuff.
So cool.
The new release will be probably next March.
Okay.
We'll have our reserve from the crazy drought infused powerful 21 vintage. It might be one of the best Zinfandels I've ever made.
That's
That'll be
exciting.
out for club.
Yeah.
First in December.
Yeah. This December?
This December.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Okay,
and,
great.
Just beyond that, we just released our first second label, which I called Brutal Hill. So we're kind of moving with weird little blends and different projects under that kind of second label, which I'm excited about.
Can you explain the name Brutal Hill?
Our vineyards are tough.
Yep.
So we're talking remote. Like the Zinfandel alone, I have to 4-wheel drive up a crazy gravel road, 2,000 elevation, and it's such a steep, crazy vineyard. I tell my wife if I don't come home tonight, please find me out there before the coyotes do. It's brutal. The Pinot too. I'm just hanging over a hillside cliff, trying to drive the weeder and everything. So they make fantastic wine, but these are brutal hills is what I always used to say to farm. So I just had this idea for this second label. I was just let's just call it Brutal Hill to kind of reference the struggle, oftentimes danger that we experience, just making these grapes from this crazy soil.
Which I don't think people think about, because I don't think about. I just enjoy the wine, and I don't always think about the process behind it. Yeah. So that's pretty amazing to hear that, and I think the label is a good reminder of that for everyone too.
Yeah,
it's a fun reminder.
I think the wine industry more needs to kind of convey less people smiling and clinking glasses, and more hey, this is an agricultural product that comes from the dirt. Yes. And we're from dirt to the bottle. Yep. So we sweat and toil in the soil to get it done. And that's really where it's... that's where it's coming from. That's what it's all about. You can taste it in the bottle. That's my point.
That's so amazing. And it also speaks to drinking local wine, too, to think about that, too. These are people in our community. This is vineyards we drive past. I was actually explaining this to my kids because there's a vineyard very close to where we live, our neighborhood, and we can see all the grapes, and we go on walks. I'm look how big the grapes are getting now. This is how they make the wine, and kind of it's good for our kids to learn, too.
Yeah, I always say know your winemaker.
Yeah,
know where your wine's coming from.
I love that. Know your winemaker. Okay, that's awesome. Do you have any memorable or funny stories that you could think of? I'm sure there's a lot.
Oh God, there's a bunch, and just kind of the small family producer kind of stuff. I constantly am thinking of times when my wife has been super pregnant, but we just had to get done stuff we had to get done. So one memory is I think we had a Honda Element at the time, and we're picking up used barrels from Napa, and we were grabbing 3 full-size barrels. So and to fit them all in, she's got her legs up on the dash. She's super pregnant with the chair all the way squeezed up. I got my chair squeezed up, and we got all the barrels in there. And, we're just this is ridiculous.
This is our life.
And even to the day when, she was cutting... ceramic kitchen tiles, or I forget what material it is, but kind of the health department grade tiles for our tasting room floor in the kitchen, and felt just felt something, and we're oh, we've got a doctor appointment, let's go to the doctor. And so she stopped cutting the tile. We go to the doctor. Doctor's you're going into labor.
Oh my gosh.
And she's well, all right, go turn off the power tools. We'll take care of that after this is done.
After the baby comes out, I guess we'll go back to the floor. That's really funny. I love that you have such a family, like your memories and stories are all revolving really about your family and that you're raising kids.
And that's the small business thing. You got just balancing business and family.
Yep.
And for us, I mean, both of my sons have definitely been hanging on the pouch on me and my wife when we're serving wine and doing the whole thing. Because, you got to do what you got to do.
Well, and I think people appreciate that too, especially in this community. It makes you more real. It's not just like you're saying, it's not like a stuffy wine tasting experience.
It's real. Yeah, you're not going to find a name tag in our tasting room. It's going to be real people. It's going to be us. And we all get it. And if there's a sign hanging on the door saying like, we couldn't get babysitting today, and I gotta get to the vineyard. So whatever.
Sorry. Totally.
That's part of it too.
That's it. But I think your customers probably recognize that and appreciate that.
Oh, yeah.
And they've been there too. Yeah, for sure.
And we've seen their kids. You know, it's great when people bring their babies and families in
and they grow up there.
Yeah, and talk about how their experience at our place was one of the reasons they moved to Petaluma.
That's so
and
cool.
And then we see those families grow up. There's this. It's just such that sense of community and family around our space.
Yeah, I agree with you. Well, and I think a lot of that does come from like that living room vibe that you were talking about, that like Victorian living room vibe that you have going on in there, the space. So it's amazing. It is a comfortable space and just approachable. So, yeah.
Definitely.
What are 3 fun facts about you personally? Not as they could be about winemaking, but not as the winemaker, not as the business owner, you personally.
Okay, here we go. So I know I asked this question with Lorraine last night, and she was like, "You got to talk about this one thing, man."
Oh, good.
But besides the fact, I'm obsessed with, pasta and a plate of pasta and a good wine together makes life worth living. Is probably why I got in this game.
Yep.
And I play guitar, all that stuff. Blah blah blah.
I didn't know that.
But one thing, a crazy story is I never studied wine in college, right? I studied archaeology and linguistics. And worked for a wine shop, didn't kind of work out in my college career. And then afterwards, I was like, what am I going to do, right? So I had lined up teaching English in Japan because I was studying some Japanese under linguistics, and I was going to go into a museum studies program overseas.
Okay.
But I still had this passion for the wine business. I don't really know why. I just did. So not even 3 months before I was set to go overseas, I think it was Father's Day. My girlfriend at the time, now my wife, said to me like, "Hey, we should get your father a bottle at the shop that I know. It's pretty cool." So we head down to this one shop in San Fran and Sonoma.
Okay.
And a guy named Mike is checking us out. A guy named Mike had helped her before, and I joked at the counter like, "You need to be named Mike to work here? What's going on?" And he said, "Why? Do you need a job?"
Oh, how funny!
And I went, "Well, what are we talking about?"
Yeah.
And so I talked to them a little bit. They hired me on the spot, and that's where I kind of worked up and got all the knowledge and the tasting and became a buyer and everything. Canceled my Japan plans. Eventually married my girlfriend, my wife now, and that kind of catalyst for everything I do now. So the hand of fate in that one moment was like, nope, you need to go this way.
It's funny. It's like that, like Sliding Doors movie where it's like, what if you guys hadn't stopped in that wine shop? And you hadn't, what if she hadn't said, let's go grab a bottle of wine for your dad? You know, that's so amazing to think back. You could have been in Japan.
Wouldn't change a thing.
No.
The fate, and I think my desires were definitely more one way.
Right.
So the fact that it just all happened
guided
like that.
you that way. Yeah, that's so amazing to me. I love stories like that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Is there anyone in your career that you can give a special shout out to?
Yeah, can I just rattle off a couple?
Yeah, rattle off as many as you want.
For whoever's listening.
We'll call it a cheers to these people.
I would say the shop was K&L Wine Merchants, right? In San Francisco. So the
Okay.
whole crew there who taught me a bunch, all the buyers that were helping me out there through that career. And then when I catapulted commercially, Matt Smith used to be winemaker at Dash, Rockwall, Blacksmith Cellars.
Wow.
He taught me a lot.
Wow.
John Phillips of Inspiration Vineyards, who's now head of Family Winemakers. I was working with him, learned a lot from him. Ettore over at Sesta di Sopra and Montalcino and Mick and all the crew up at Unti in Healdsburg.
Wow.
These places where I really cut my teeth and learned and shaped kind of the wine that I wanted to make and the style and how to grow everything. It's always been about pulling from the minds of people I respected in the industry, and all those guys were kind of Lisa Forbes, who used to be winemaker at Chalk Hill, she was instrumental too. So just people I knew, like, they made great stuff.
Yeah.
What are you doing that these other guys
aren't?
Yeah.
That's the way to learn it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I'm sure, too, at some point, like, people will be following you and you'll be mentoring if you're not already, which is pretty kind of cool to pass it on.
I hope that I am, yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if your kids will end up in the industry.
We'll see. They might grow up hating it.
They may be like,
I'm going to make them whack some weeds on these organic vineyards when they get older.
You're going to take them to Brutal Hill.
They're going to be a Brutal Hill. They're going to be battling poison oak and weeds all over the place.
They may move far away.
They might be like, nope, I'm a lawyer. I'm out of here.
Exactly. That's so funny. Awesome. Well, where can my listeners find you?
So Tasting Room, the Petaluma Cheese Shop, and Barber Cellars is downtown Petaluma. You can also find us at barbercellars.com. We ship any 4-bottle order for free anywhere in the contiguous USA.
Nice. Okay.
You can also check out petalumacheeseshop.com for our new venture and what we're doing there, and just at Instagram at Barber Cellars, at Petaluma Cheese Shop, all that stuff.
Awesome. And I'll put links to all of that in the show notes.
Great.
I love your social media, by the way. I feel like I don't know if it's you that does it or someone.
It's me.
It's
we
you.
do everything.
Okay.
We do
so
everything.
like your reels and showing
Small
what's happening in the
stuff,
background.
Yeah.
It's really, I think it's really interesting and exciting to like look at your stories and see what you guys are up to. So you're doing a great job with that.
Thank you.
Definitely catches my eye.
I try. I can always do more, but it's like.
Well, you can only do so much.
Yeah,
I feel like you do have your hands full. Well, I will absolutely be in. I usually come in at least once a week, so I will absolutely be in the next week to try some cheese too.
Perfect.
So,
we'll be there for you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming in
Take
today.
It easy, guys. It's a new part of the business.
Yeah. If anybody comes in, like a little flexibility while the cheese is getting up and running. But I do want some burrata very badly.
It's there for you.
All right.
And it's delicious.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming in today, Mike.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
If you like what you hear, please be sure to like and subscribe, learn more about Sonoma County and all that we have to offer here.